462 degrees Celsius. That is the average temperature at the surface of Venus, which I am sure it will mean something to someone. But in my case, I'm just amazed that we can actually measure the temperature of a planet that is 260 million kilometers away. But as mentioned by Nicholas Curti, the prominent physicist from Oxford University, and also a food enthusiast, it is a sad reflection on our civilization that while we can and do measure the temperature in Venus, we don't know what goes on inside our soufflés. Now, I'm not a physicist, and I guess that mastering the art of takeaway doesn't qualify me as a cook either. But the reason why this insight resonates so strongly with me is because I'm an architect. And architects can design amazing buildings. I'm very fortunate to work at a studio that does just that. For example, this building can reduce the health risks of sedentary behavior by incorporating movement within the daily activities of office workers. These type of buildings link toward the Venus end of human achievement. But there's a soufflé side to this, an underlying basic question that we don't know the answer to. We don't know how many people fit inside these buildings. And I'm going to focus on office buildings, not only because I believe that these are the places where adventurous minds should flourish, but because these places are likely to become the rather unexpected places where we might find clues of what it means to be human. But more on that later. Also interesting is the fact that trying to find how many people fit inside these buildings has become an adventure in itself. So let me take you through this adventure. And to make things easier, let's start by shrinking the problem to the size of a car. Let's say a Mini. How many people do you think fit inside this Mini? That's right, 28. More precisely, 28 gymnasts that recruited every single inch of the hard and flexibility to set the Guinness World Record. Now, as you will imagine, things got very tight in there, so much that they could only fit in there for 5 seconds. And it goes without saying that the car could not be driven. A good thing, because imagine if they had an accident. So the question should be rephrased to, how many people fit inside a Mini in a comfortable, usable, and safe manner? And if we count the number of seatbelts, we can see that the design capacity of that Mini is 4 people. The same with buildings. We're not after the maximum number of gymnasts that we can squeeze in for 5 seconds. But we can learn from our Mini example and count the number of chairs inside a building to estimate the number of people that fit in it. But there are a few problems with this approach. And the first one is me. You see, I'm not at work sitting on my chair. Unlike me, there are a lot of you that have a chair somewhere anxiously waiting for you. It is estimated that the average number of empty chairs in an office building is 40%. That will be the equivalent of just eating 60% of this soufflé and throwing the rest away. That doesn't make sense. That is not a sustainable or efficient way of eating a soufflé. The same with buildings. Doesn't make sense to use only 60% of them. But there's a more fundamental problem than the number of empty chairs in a building. And that is that we actually don't know how many chairs we can fit in to start with. And this is a good time to talk about the elephant in the room. We love the idea of working anywhere, anytime. But the reality is that we actually need to work somewhere, sometime. So while we might feel empowered to go and work at the beach for a truly liberating, mindful, inspiring session, very soon the sea, the sand, and the sun will see us going to a place where we can work in an efficient, comfortable, and safe manner. But of course, that doesn't mean that place has to be an office. So let's try to do a very quick exercise to see what type of environment this might be. Please raise your hand if what you do for a living depends more on using your brain than your muscles. Now, keep your hand up. Please try to imagine your job in 10 years from now. Now, if you believe that computers in the year 2026 will be able to do your job, please put your hand down. Now, if we're honest about this, 40% of you will have lowered your hand. At least, that is what the Committee for Economic Development in Australia has estimated. They believe that 5 million jobs will be replaced by technology between the next 10 to 15 years. There are other estimates, some of them as high as 90% unemployment by the year 2030. But what all these estimations have in common is that if someone's job or a component of it can be replaced by technology, it will. But we shouldn't be surprised by this. We've already been through that. But what is different this time around is the type of jobs that are likely to be replaced. Medicine, law, and accounting, just to name 3 professions, are likely to experience unemployment due to technology substitution. And it all started at a game show. You might have heard about Watson, the cognitive computer from IBM that in 2011 beat humans in the popular TV show Jeopardy! That was quite a milestone because the way the game was structured was believed to favor humans over computers. Since then, Watson has invented a barbecue sauce. And if you need any ideas for cooking tonight, why not give cognitive cooking a go and ask Watson to put together a dish for you based on ingredients of your choice. Now, what Watson in particular and cognitive computing in general have done is redefine the attributes that once we thought were exclusively human, like creativity. And with that, redefine the future of jobs. 7 years ago, I concluded my PhD in workplace architecture with an insight that seemed to be increasingly relevant. And that is that a paradox in the future of work might be that increasingly technology-driven futures will create increasingly human environments to nurture our last competitive advantages over machines. What I didn't expect was to experience one of these environments so fast. Have a look at this. A couple of months ago, I joined a group of people that get together to work in someone else's house. They call it Office. Now, whether Office will disappear faster than you can say hipster, or will become the next Airbnb for the workplace, is yet to be seen. But what Office does, and does very well, is that it magnifies the social nature of work. According to Deloitte, the value of collaborative work in Australia is $46 billion per year. That should be a very good incentive to design environments that support collaboration. But what Office does, it points to a perhaps unquantifiable, more basic need, the need to be with others. You see, these people are not collaborating. They're not bound by projects, KPIs, or anything like that. But perhaps they're together for the same reason that people that can work anywhere, anytime, choose to pay their rent in the form of coffees, to go and work amongst others, but even not with them. So let's not call it an office if you don't want to, but a mix of environments to nurture our last competitive advantages over machines, a nursery of adventurous minds. And that could be a very broad definition of what the office in the future might be. But how do we refer to an office today? Let's have a look at how does the building code specifying the maximum number of people that can fit in a building refers to an office. Office, including one for typewriting or document photocopy. Now, I'm pretty sure that makes sense when it was established over 25 years ago, but it's certainly not reflective of contemporary environments, not to mention the ones to come. So a group of other seemingly adventurous minds from Hassel and Arup, we got together to crack the capacity code. And we're pretty much in the middle of this adventure, and I'm sure you appreciate that we don't go into any detail about this. But one thing that has become apparent is that while the quantity of square meters per person is an important parameter establishing how many people fit in a room, it should not be the most important one, nor the only one. Over a year ago, I typed into Google, "my workplace is," and let autocomplete finish the sentence. I was very surprised to see the top results. So I then typed other phrases like "my job is." And I wrote down all the answers every month for a year. And this is a summary of the results. My workplace is unsafe. My job is boring. My workmates don't like me. Hope it's not me. My boss hates me. And going to work is depressing. Now, Even if these workplaces comply with every single code within the BCA in terms of fire egress, toilets, basins, and so on, there shouldn't be anyone in there. This adventure started as a destination trying to find out how many people fit inside an office building. But as it happens, the journey became more interesting. I'm not longer after a number. Those of you familiar with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy already know the answer to the meaning of life. It is 42. The number of people that fit inside a building might be as uninspiring as 42. But the reason why I think this adventure is so exciting is because the path to finding that number is the same path to understand what makes us, us. Thank you.